Inside.
Find the river, right?
Oh, yeah. I got a trail we cut all the way right down to the river. Beaver dam right up on the side of the river. Beavers always come out and spot their tails.
12.
It's a cool spot down there.
My father grew up swimming down there in the river.
Oh, yeah?
Thank you, sir. We'll be here all day.
Council meeting June 4th, 2019.
But, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it was a,
Absolutely. Well familiar with your grandmother for a long time.
yeah.
Okay, we're on.
I just loved being down there. Totally different world back then. That's the entertainment, you know.
I'd like to call this council meeting for June 4th, 2019 to order. Please join me with the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Kobe,
Here.
Councilor Brunel,
Here.
Councilor LaRochelle,
Here.
Councilor Ward,
Here.
Councilor Lunt,
Here.
Councilor Albert.
Is excused.
Would you like to take a vote?
Yep, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
5-0, passed.
Next up.
Is good news and recognition.
I'd like to congratulate class of 2019 who just graduated this past Sunday. And also Lisbon Baseball for MVC champs for a successful season there.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got anything that I missed? I tried to get a report from Mr. Willie.
They had 201, I think now.
That's right. Coach Ridley's got his 200 plus wins. Absolutely.
Go Lisbon.
We had an awesome turnout for the Memorial Day Parade.
Yep, we did.
I want to thank everybody who participated and helped make it possible. Anybody else? Next item.
Is public hearings. First public hearing, and only, is to amend Chapter 70, Article 1, Section 70-1, Definitions, and Article 4, Division 13, District Uses, Section 7530, Land Uses, and Section 7531, the Table of Land Uses regarding daycares.
I'll open that public hearing. Anybody? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. Next item.
Next item is the audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody? Okay, seeing none. Next item.
Is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have an item removed may do so now. Seeing none. Order 2019-119 to approve the municipal accounts payable and payroll warrants. Number 522-2019 for $14,501.30. Number 530-2019 for $12,069.55. Number 531-2019 for $27,010.70. Number 64-2019 for $489,315.74. The school accounts payable and payroll warrants. Number 1917 for $59,934.05. Number 1063 for $367,790.91. Number 1064 for $11,893.36. Number 29 for $435.36. Number 1065 for $44,426.26. Number 30 for $416.
Next item.
Under Council Orders, Resolutions, and Ordinances, Order 2019-120, the Lafferly easement.
We're going to make a motion to move that to a later date.
I'll second that. Second these.
Okay.
All in favor?
And order passed 5-0.
Next item.
Order 2019-121, the Rural Communities Assistant Grant for Beaver Park.
Tracy Stuber, Economic and Community Development Director. And this grant is an EPA. It's a recreation economy for rural communities, and basically what it is a planning assistance program to help communities develop strategies and an action plan to revitalize their main streets through outdoor recreation. Because there's been so much talk and expanding Beaver Park and the activities, and with all of the work we've been doing in the village area, this made sense to make that connection, Beaver Park to the village downtown. And this is a planning grant, so it wouldn't be, basically they would bring a team in, work with Mark Stevens, the Recreation Committee, as well as the Conservation Committee, and they will come up with a plan for Beaver Park. We will take that plan and then we'll utilize that to do the implementation and applying for other grants to help make it happen. So I'm just asking permission to go ahead and do the submittal of this for the planning assistance. There's no match or cost as far as to the town. Everything is strictly provided through the EPA for
I'll
the
make
full
the motion.
cost.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Right?
Is there an amount on that? It's a
There is no cap. I listened to the webinar on it, and they really didn't have a cap. It's going to be basically they set a time that they come in with the community, then they do like a 2-day type of workshop. They would do the SWOT analysis and go through all of that, look at the site, and do, be public meetings and getting public input, and then they'll put something together.
Okay. And can you repeat one more time what type of grant it was coming? Because if I heard you correctly, it's downtown. I'm trying to figure out how they're tying downtown to Beaver Park. So that to me really more, please.
The idea of it is because Beaver Park is the close proximity to the downtown area. So what I was able to do in looking through the grant is making that connection, saying, okay, if we get activities in Beaver Park, we're going to have the park in the village area as well, hoping to bring in new businesses with a new sidewalk project. We have the trail which goes through, and the East Coast Greenway which goes through by Beaver Park from the Lewiston side and comes in. So it's making those connections.
Okay. So it's more of a promotion kind of spin to our application is what you're going to do?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
No more.
Anybody else? Okay. All in favor?
Order passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item.
Order 2019-122, the road striping bid award.
Randy Sear, Public Works Director. This year we had very few people respond, but Lucas Striping came in even cheaper than they did last year. So I think we should award it to them.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait.
Yeah, correct.
Can we go just for discussion,
Yes,
please?
we can.
His point being is the fact is we have fewer responses. My question is did we solicit less, or we've always solicited the 4?
We solicited 7 people. They were all too busy and some went out of business.
Okay, I buy that. What I'd give you, I don't know if you have it, I got a list for at least next year for consideration. At least I know those folks are active. I have no issue with Lucas's because it's comparable to what Lewiston's did, and they did us right last year. So
Yep.
I have no issue with the recommendation. The other question I would ask is, when we're putting bids out, do we actually typically, is everything electronic, or how do they go out? The thing that caught my attention in Randy's recommendation is that if we did something different with this one, did that limit what went out, or did it go through the same process?
No, it went through the same processes.
Okay,
as it
so
did last
nothing
year.
we did on our end. It just caught the tone of what you were actually wrote it out. The one thing that I would say as well, we accept fax and email bids back.
Mm-hmm.
How do we trigger that we know that they actually met the time frame that they have to be in by a certain time?
Time on the email and the fax, both are time stamped.
Yeah.
Okay. We've never had any issue with anybody disputing any of that?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Well, I think it's okay for now, but caution on that is just takes one person that feels jilted because server issue or something of that nature, and even if it's on their end, they're going to dispute claims. So I know one of the things that we won't do in Lewiston is I won't accept a fax or an email bid any shape or form. You physically deliver it. So I just leave it at that.
I just feel, at this,
Yeah, it's nothing about the bid. It's just the fact
Yeah.
is you just happen to catch those two things, and just looking at
that and the lack
How
of
we're doing it.
participation was, we're down to only a couple people.
right.
Oh.
And one of the points that you're spot on. one of the things that they are pushing me to do in Lewiston more is to creatively try to cast as wide a net as you can, knowing that people got limited time and their schedules are already full.
Right.
So anything that we can to actually push the envelope on that, I think would be the same approach.
Right.
It just, I know when you read in your dialogue, the 4 is minor. And the fact is, it could, if we didn't get Lucas to come back with a fortunate bid, that could have gone just as easily the other way and
absolutely.
cost us substantially.
Yep.
That's the only reason I say it.
Yeah.
Madam Chair? And maybe it was in the paperwork, I didn't see it, but are we actually, Davis Street, for the walking trail part of the Davis Street, is that going to be striped again this year? Off the edge?
I can note it as part of that. He will get striped if you want.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. And Don, I'm not sure if you, was that striped last year with during striping? Yeah. It's just, I know during the winter sometimes that gets taken away a little bit.
Yeah, because I think you guys put a new sidewalk or new area down Davis Street, right?
Basically, the only thing that separates that from the roadway is the white line.
Right, the
so,
white
I
line.
mean, it's nice
Exactly.
to actually
Not
have it
a
designated.
sidewalk.
Yeah, so it's just actually part of the road, but yeah, what designates it is the white line. I can make sure that gets done.
If we could, just to make sure. Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be good. Like I say, I didn't see it listed, but I might have missed it.
Yeah, I'll note it.
Just to Alan's point, we don't typically, solicit bids via email. It's only in certain circumstances, and the fuel bid is one that would come in via email.
That's what caught my attention when he
Right.
said email. The only one I know we take liberties because it has to be in the same day is the fuel.
Exactly. Right.
And the fact is, but
But I can't think of another instance where we've received them via email other than this
I
one.
mean, I push everything out electronically too. And it's the easiest way to be able to know that you got a live contact to be able to get your response. I got no issue with that because you're directing them to the bids to be able to ask your inquiries. It was just how are we not setting ourselves up to limiting the pool of people that we actually get responses from? If there's anything that we can control on our side, it's
I think maybe probably giving them a little bit longer period in between getting the bids back in. It's probably springtime's busy for them, you know what I mean? So instead of giving them a couple weeks, give them a month to get their bids back in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the nature associated with what we have to do because Lewiston runs the same way. Is the fact is, unless you've got funds left over from the previous year, you're capped because you can't do anything until the funding comes in for next year, anyways.
Right.
So everybody goes through that same mechanism.
So it's almost like what I did for the truck is sort of getting the pre-approval to spend what we did this year.
Right.
Moving forward to next year, so we're first on the list again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that that's an active step that we could applaud through the budgetary part when you bring your presentations forward every year, just to be able to make that happen, to at least help you with the timeline, because that construction season is not going to get any easier for the coming years, for sure. Yeah.
Anybody
We got a
else?
motion. Anybody else?
That's a second.
Okay, all in favor?
5-0, order passed.
Next item.
Order 2019-123, the Pine Woods Road reconstruction.
Now this one's going to be a longer conversation.
Just a little. There again, Mandy from Oliver Associates kind of put forth, you probably see it in your packet, two prices. One, if we redo the whole infrastructure of the road, which will alleviate, try to take care of the big traffic that's going through there. I mean, just the paving part of it. If we had to grind, if we reclaimed it all and paved it, you're looking at $800,000. And I don't think it's money well spent because the bottom, there's no base to that road. Without going out and spending all the money to do the engineering and do core tests and everything else, we all know what Pine Woods Road looks like. We all know that it's all sand around there. We all know that there's not a whole lot of gravel in that road. Just doing the repairs on the little bit of Pine Woods Road that we've done and doing the sewer project, we know exactly what's under the ground, and it's not good. Right, Steve? So with that being said, the amount of money to redo the road the way it should be done and done correctly to facilitate that, the vehicles going through there, the heavy traffic, it's a chunk of money. That's going to have to definitely go to go to vote. I mean, because, what is it, $1.7 million or $1.3 million?
Well, her 1.150, I
Yeah,
could easily argue could be $1.5
$1.150.
million.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the estimate here and the fact that I would challenge all day, every day, the amount for mobilization and traffic being less than 45,000 is laughable.
Right. I mean,
That figure can easily be 250 for any
Right.
project in Lewiston, and I don't think we would be anybody different here.
Right. And the other thing, and there's some discrepancies I feel like they're on the high side for, and that's, the paving at 125, but, I know paving is a little bit less than that if you're doing a large project, so that's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, because that project's still going to be, without getting a formal study done, this is just getting us some preliminary
Sure.
numbers to see where we're at as far as where we go to try to get the money to do this. And then basically, it's either in the voters' hands or, for me, I think $800,000 would be a waste of money because that would get beat up in about 2 or 3 years.
Back to where we are right now.
We're back to where we are, and it's not money well spent.
Point that I would make is the fact that I everything that I'm seeing is if you're putting it out now and you're looking 1 year out, you can add a 40% inflationary associated with that. So if you throw a 40% inflationary on $1.1 million, you're at the $1.5 million, which I think would be realistic in that regard.
Right.
So I don't think it's anything associated with the estimate per se. It's just we need to proceed with caution to be able to move with that. My question that first goes is the motion that's here for tonight is to put that out to the voters being above the 250 on the November timeframe. Did this land on the LCIP for an FY20, or how's that even playing itself out? Because I went looking for it and I didn't. I remember the discussion from your meeting, but I don't remember if we actually
I don't think we
put
put
funding.
it on the CIP because it's something that just happened. It wasn't even on the radar, I don't believe. But
No.
because of all the traffic, for some reason this year it's really been bad.
How do we budget for it?
We're going to have to go out to bond.
Well, yeah, we go out from bond, which in the November timeframe. But are you saying that the first bond wouldn't actually come due for us until 21, so we could budget it then?
Yes, because the funds wouldn't be available till the spring, and then our first payment wouldn't be due until
The following year.
following
Fall.
fall. Will be if you go through the bond bank. Yes, that's correct. The earliest we could get would be the spring because we have to wait for the November vote.
Right. Well, and you,
Yeah.
Randy, what's the capacity of what the heavy truck is coming from? Is that a long term? What's left there, or is that a short term? I mean, we're talking, is there 2 years of hauling out of there, or is there actually 10 years of hauling out of there?
Carl Houston had a projected, they projected how many yards were in there. I can't remember, it was 400 and something thousand. It was a pretty large number. It'd take a while to get it all out of there.
Yeah.
But then you also have the pit that's at the end, where it crosses Pine Woods Road, goes down out back.
True, yeah, down by the river.
So there's one down there too. So whether or not they tap that one out and then go to the next, who knows?
So it's not a short term. It's something.
I don't believe it's going to be short term. I think this is going to be at least going on for 5 to more years anyway. Because and you got to figure the short season, but now they're hauling throughout most of the winter. But then they have mud season. And then it's back to heavy hauling again, so.
Yeah, the only time it really slows down during posted is about it.
Pretty much, that's the only time it slows down. I know it's kind of a bad place to have a pit and to have a big commercial hauler in there, that's got, 10, 12 trucks that are able to haul through there. I mean, back when the guys had smaller trucks, it wasn't an issue, or only did maybe a dozen loads a week, but when you go in 15, 20 loads a day, it just makes a world of difference out there. And the trucks are bigger.
Yep. What's I guess, if this doesn't go through, which, I mean, let's say it's one of those things where you just never know, but if this wasn't to go through, can that just continue to be patched? I mean, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be very drivable.
No, it's one of those things where, the man hours and the amount of patch going out, it would be almost worth it just to shim the whole thing for now. Just to run a skim coat over the whole thing, fill all the holes. the amount of man hours and the tonnage we're putting out by hand, we're concentrating on one road. I got a lot of roads that need fixing. It's hard for me to, I only got one hot box. And I only got one crew that, they all go out and they all do the paving. They'll put out, 6-8 ton a day. And that's a lot when you're going from 5 shovelfuls of whack, you know what I mean, to be doing that kind of tonnage. So they're putting it out there, but there again, do I spend all my time and energy weeks upon weeks over there, or do I try to get other spots in the town done at the same time? I mean, unfortunately, I don't have the money in the budget to skim coat the whole thing from there to Cotton Road, or else probably I would have suggested it, but I don't have it. Maybe I'll have it next year, but what else is going to get pushed out, you know what I mean?
Short-term fix.
Skim coat still, it's a gimmick to actually just buy you time. It still
Pretty
doesn't address
much.
the issue.
I mean, in the wintertime, it's still not going to hold up because it's still not really sealed because the parts that don't,
The base underneath is still
it's still
the issue.
junk. So, I mean, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place here. So,
Yeah, I mean, the need's
And there's-
there. The question is whether or not we get the resources to fix it, that's all.
well, that's the thing. I mean, I know we'd probably get enough votes from that end of town.
Yep. We already got a petition in to fix
Yeah.
that road.
From one of the trailer parks.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
I mean, that road was basically built for those parks, you know what I mean? And it was very, very hardly used, other than the landfill, that was
Say it's the biggest hauling down there was the landfill.
landfill. Yeah.
Sad days.
I guess the only thing we can actually do is propose it, put together a proposal and put it out there and, I mean, do our best to actually kind of see what happens. I mean, promote it, but, I mean, it's,
You got to liken it to exactly the same scenario as the Summer Street and Borough Road project that we did a couple years ago. I mean, because Borough Road's probably an equivalent to this stretch for the people that it actually impacts, but if you're on it, it still impacts you.
Boatham Road, you mean, or the,
Boatham.
yep.
See, the trailer park traffic is where you get, there's a lot of residents in those small areas.
It's congested right there.
It's congested and you get,
So geographically, how far are we going with this?
just to Cotton Road, that's just to the entrance to the park, to Beaver Park. So that's not even bringing it to the end.
I think.
But from there up,
that's an easy sell.
but from there up, there's not a whole lot of people in the actual road's not that bad.
Right.
So that's why we're cutting it off at the Cotton Road.
Is there any utilities or anything need to be redone, or is there no?
There's
utilities?
culverts that are plugged right now. There's, they're undersized. Walking through with Mandy, we did a drive-through. There's a lot of undersized culverts because we've had a lot of issues over the winter, with the sides building up because it's not draining properly. So there's drainage, there's ditching, there's all kinds of.
No sewer and water out that farther, right?
I know there
Water
are.
goes all the way out to the other end of the.
Does it?
All the way
Yeah.
to Cotton Road, all
All the way to Ferry?
Oh, no, it goes all the way to Balls Park.
Because they have pump stations, right? What do you got?
We just have 2 or 3 manholes in between Spruce Street
Right.
and Winter Street. Other than that, we don't have.
Yeah, he's got no sewers beyond that.
Force main access
Right.
manhole in front of it.
Yeah.
And I
Just-
know,
Water runs
another
out of
issue that we're gonna run into, because we've already ran into this issue, is the water. Because as we're compacting those, what do we have, 2 water breaks?
Well, that's my discussion is, if we go out for a $1.5 million bond to redo the road, it's just not even practical to think that we would do that much work and not actually
Well, you have to
replace
get Bill on board with the water
utilities,
department.
which, I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but last time he was in, basically said he was actually against the same financial burden we were.
Right.
More projects than he had financing or ability to do, so, I couldn't
he's
see
trying.
the idea of putting 12 inches of good gravel on top of a road and paving it, then,
Oh, without changing the water main.
then thinking that
Right.
we weren't gonna change what's below it,
Right,
or if it even lasts during the process of actually digging that up
right.
and,
I know he says that line through there is newer than other parts of town that we're fixing right now.
yeah.
But on the other hand, he's trying to get the money to do 125 when that project comes up. So again, this project probably be landing the year after that if it goes through, right? As far as the timeline goes, so he'd have to apply for more money to do that run.
Yep, just a thought. I mean, it's one of those things where anytime we put together something like this, I think we need to have everybody on the same
Exactly.
same room and making sure that everybody's on board with it. But just a lot of money to spend to think that we may have to dig it up if there's a problem. That's all.
Yep.
Not saying that putting new is always, guaranteed not to break, but at least it's better than what we got.
Better chance.
Yeah.
We're going to run into the same issue with shoulders as we did with the other project, where we actually got the work done, but we didn't get any of the shoulders that actually cause you hardship year 2 and 3.
You mean if we do that project there?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Anybody else? I have a motion.
Sure.
What is your motion, sir?
To put it on the November referendum to see where the town tells us to go with it.
Is that a
Wanna do
dollar
it
figure to that
Up to
actual motion?
1.5 million?
My 1.5 actually. I don't want to put something out there.
Just like Alan
The
said.
criticism that we actually hit with our former PW director was the fact is if you tell me for 2.2 you're going to do it, I want to guarantee that you're going to do it. I don't want you to find out later that you're $400,000 short and then we go looking for funds again. That's just a misrepresentation.
Just like what's going on with all DOT projects and everything, stuff they had bidded out last year, now it's coming in 40% more, like he said.
15 projects, right? They actually put aside.
Yeah, so we have to kind of factor that in. The length of time as opposed to when people actually give us the pricing, we get the funding, then things go up, and we have to kind of allow for that.
And if it's any better, we just do a little more of the road, right? Basically,
Exactly. We could probably shim and do a little bit further. Who knows?
I'll second Alan's $1.5 million.
All in favor?
5-0. Order passed.
Next item.
Order 2019-124 to amend Appendix C, fee schedule, solid waste transfer and recycling facility sections. First reading, roll call vote required.
Can we have discussion on this before we actually land on this one? Conceptually, it seems extremely easy, but the one example that I bring to the discussion that I've heard criticism from just since our last meeting, to me it was an easy sell. The fact is 2 passes, $25 for a household. The criticism that I've heard specifically is the fact that the second pass is something that doesn't have to actually give it away runs counterproductive to what we were intending, because now there's the potential to be able to be putting it on a car that isn't actually registered in town. And the fact that the concern there is if you're going to go up, $25 per pass seems a lot easier to be able to be sold and justified.
Well, the second one still has to be registered in town. It's not going to be any different than the first one.
Yeah, and the point that I'm making is the free one, now you're actually got more out there than just doing the transfer back and forth. That would, the easier sell that I've heard would be if you set a fee, have it be that fee for all passes
For
within
all?
that. Yes.
Okay.
That was where they landed on that. And that's the easy piece of it. The other things that are in here for the removal of the commercial and that kind of stuff, I know we talked about a public hearing on this to be able to get that kind of stuff. I really can see it unraveling when what I thought was an easy one, hearing the 25 and 1 free versus this, if we go into anything of serious substance without some information from other parties, quite specifically.
Other parties meaning who?
Go ahead, sir. The fact is, I know you've had conversations as well,
I mean,
too. So.
And again, even at the last one, I mean, there's a lot of good information, there's a lot of good ideas. I think that it's need to be a broader discussion before we change the whole fee schedule and actually come into the commercial part of it. And I just think there's a lot more work and due diligence as far as for information needs to be put out there on all avenues. Just as a discussion wise for Alan, and I know that Diane was hoping to get some of the fee schedule changed, which, I mean, I'm not sure how we would amend this to actually change it as far as for the stickers and like the box springs and
We
the stuff
can
that
do
actually,
just that part of it and we can leave the rest for later. I just need to have that because we got to start selling the stickers.
So
And I need it so I can figure out my revenues. The rest of it, as far as the commercial haulers, if you want to wait and do that later, I mean, that can be implemented anytime, because we haven't done anything to our budget. We still have the same budget figure in there.
And that was where I was kind of landing, and that we approved the budget. We never touched the budget on the cost side of things, so we know that that's there. Anything that we did in the coming year would only reduce that to offset the fees for the additional staff that we're bringing on.
So what were the other items? There was $25 a sticker, there was a box springs, and there was another handful of items there.
Well, there was, the sofas, the chairs would still be $10. The sofas, because sometimes people are bringing in sectionals, and sometimes they're love seats, sometimes they're recliners, sometimes, so the weight and everything is a lot more than just a chair. So, getting with Marcel, we've talked about, somebody bringing in a whole sectional, they were still paying, the same prices as a regular chair,
Yep.
which we didn't think was fair, you know what I mean, as far as us,
Should be per
us
piece.
getting rid of
Per
it.
piece, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, but-
Four-piece sectional, I'm sorry, you're getting 4 times 4.
right, I mean, so we tried to do, we're going to even try doing pay by the foot, but that didn't work, so we just tried to come up with a price. Marcel and I tried to come up with a price, and we figured that $20 would work.
Okay.
That would take care of, maybe it'd be $10 for a love seat, but yet a sectional, we'd kind of make it up on the other end, so, not a lot of people are getting rid of sectionals, but, you get a wider couch or you get a love seat, so there's different variations in sizes.
Right.
So I guess before we get into, to make it easier to move things along, and so the other items are on discussion. I mean, I would be all for the idea of amending the first one to amend the changes to bring forward the 25 per sticker fee that Alan was mentioning, if that's what the council feels, and approving the other changes to the format for the increases in costs, but not going as deep into it as actually doing the structural change. And
So 25 per vehicle.
That's just what
Okay.
that was what I heard for feedback. Because the fact is, it would be easier to justify that because at least at that point, that there's an increase to be able to be tied to what an individual
All right,
would be
so
doing.
We want to keep the subsequent vehicle to $5 then, and not put the.
Is that what it is now?
Well, our changes to the subsequent vehicle, with the second vehicle be free. So do you want to keep?
So
the
it's $5. It's $5 now.
Yes.
Right.
$5 now.
But the regular permit's 10. So,
I
How
think
many people do you say get a second vehicle?
I was going to say, well, I think all $25. Why
I
you all
do.
talking about everything else?
I
You
do
want
too.
a
I
dump
don't know.
sticker?
I
He's
just know where to
$25.
track that.
You got a second pickup truck living in your house. He wants a dump sticker.
$25.
He's $25 too.
makes it simple, doesn't it?
Doesn't that make it a lot simple?
that's where I was kind of living.
Sticker's $25.
so we'll do everything, all vehicles the same, even on the business, the second sticker. Anything that we put second sticker free, we'll just charge the regular rate.
$25.
Then I had a minor question, if you don't mind, on what's the difference between a temporary and a 1 day when it's still $15? Why? I don't get how many of those are sold to even
Sell a
generate
lot
that.
of temporary permits.
Do you?
Yeah.
So,
Typically, it's
Yeah.
to clean out an apartment or clean out
so it's a
something.
landlord kind of
Yeah,
scenario.
it is.
Okay, I buy that.
Are we getting
So-
proof?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
How?
Strict on that.
Are those typically bigger loads, though? I mean,
Some of
it's,
them are, some of
Some
them
aren't, some aren't, depending on how the person lived. I mean, it could be
Well, they're pushing the
a
point.
simple thing as a mattress and a couch, and
but at that point in time,
Odds and
they're
ends.
not just paying the $15. They're
No,
actually
they're
paying the
paying for the
$15, and they're paying for the whatever they
Disposal
haul
of
it.
the
Refrigerator, stove, mattress, any of that
So
stuff.
the $15 to get in the gate,
$15 is their $25.
to get in the gate, then they got to pay for anything after. Yeah.
Right.
But it's
they'll
not
get
one
multiple
time.
ones.
Yeah.
Because they never figure that they're going to have to use it again, so they'll only get it that one time. And then
So why is that one not $25
somebody else
still?
skips out on their rent, and then
Right.
2 months
Right.
later, they're doing it again.
They're
Randy,
doing-
Yeah.
why isn't that one $25 still?
We're just, it
know-
can be, I mean, that's up to you guys. I mean, we,
Dump sticker's a dump sticker. And
To
you
me-
just
to me-
leave it, yeah.
Dump sticker's a dump sticker, man. It's
It's
$25.
temporary as long as
You
you
want
have
it
it
for
for
3
the year,
days because
right?
you don't live in this neighborhood, but you own this piece of property? Or what? I mean, again, I don't understand how, when you say landlords, if you own this piece of
If
property.
it's up to 6 months, the fact is, I'm sorry, you just moved to town. It might be a temporary, and I'm actually getting it for $10 less than the average customer. The fact is, you can play that route too.
Yeah, so the
25
temporary,
bucks.
Right. That's why I asked. But I get like the 1 day clean out.
right,
That one makes sense. But when a 6-month pass and a 1 day has the same fee, I think that's inequitable all day long, every day. And that was why it just caught my attention when I started looking at the
typically
content.
the people, well,
And that should be somebody moving. I get that.
right. What I was going to say, sometimes on those 1 day, they're cleaning out a lot of stuff.
Right.
Whereas they may generate more trash in that 1 day than a person would in 6 months.
Right.
If
And
you're
they're
like one person, yeah,
Cleaning out 6 months of trash in that one.
you're broaching
$25.
you're broaching the same issue associated with the commercial that
Yeah.
Randy's talking about. We might not even want to consider that. Is it still residential trash, or is commercial is commercial is commercial? If it's good enough for a TIF, why is it not good enough for our dump with a landlord type of scenario?
So Alan, what we're hearing is the idea is to go 25 right across the board for tickets? So
But
if you
I-
want a sticker, it's 25.
On the temporary, I don't buy into the temporary, but a 1 day pass, I'll sell it to you for the $10 or the $15. I don't have an issue with that because that's a 1 day deal. But
$25.
25 all day.
25, man. And then you pay for your refrigerator and your stove and your mattress and everything else too, just like everybody else does.
Right.
But because you don't.
How many different fees do we have right now? We actually have the 25, we actually have a temporary, a 1 day. Is it three different,
no.
or just?
No, we do whatever it is, we charge whatever the fee is, $10. If it's a 1 day, it's $10.
Okay.
If it's 6 months, we charge
15.
temporary, we charge currently right now $10 for a temporary.
Right. I was going with the new price. Right.
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 But we have a scenario too where you have somebody that lives here 6 months out of the year, and the other 6 months they're away, but we're not giving them a year sticker because they're not registered here in Lisbon anymore. They don't have a vehicle registered, so they have to get a temporary permit, but we won't issue it for a year, only 6 months.
But then you,
25 bucks.
then
So
people
what we're
have-
doing right now is we're charging that $10 for the whole year, so that when he comes in and gets his 6-month temporary pass and he renews it, we don't charge him the second time. Because
the question
normally
is,
he would
is-
just be here.
Snowbirds, you know
Is
what I
there
mean?
an easier
There's
way?
a lot of them around here. It's $25.
Isn't it easier just
They
to
own the
have one?
property.
I know,
One-
right?
Seems like they own property here, they're a
Uh-huh.
taxpayer, they should be allowed to use it the same as anyone else, whether or not they have a vehicle
But they don't have,
registered here.
but that's not, they can't get a sticker.
Right, but I say
But
that's,
so
that's
they
a
have to get
problem, right. Well, I'd say just say the $25.
$5.
Only available to people that are
property owners
landowners
in
or
town.
residents.
That's not
To his
temporary.
point, they can't get a sticker
Give
in
them
this
a year
town.
sticker, year permit.
Because their vehicles are registered.
Vehicles are registered in Florida or Arizona or
registered vehicles
Texas.
down there.
Right. No inspection. There's a lot of different stuff down in snowbird land. That's why
Yeah.
they do that.
Yeah.
I can.
Oh, I get that. But you're not going to sell me a sticker when I have a house that I pay property
I'll sell you a
taxes
sticker.
on
It's
its own.
$25.
That's where I live. That's why I'm
We
Whether
give
you're
them-
here for
we
6
give them a
months
paper
or-
permit, they don't get a sticker. The sticker has to be tied to a vehicle that's registered
registered
here.
in town.
Can't
You
be
get a
tied
piece
to
of
a
paper.
piece of tax property.
Because that sticker is supposed to be affixed to that vehicle, and that vehicle is not registered here.
I know, but I just think that's a bad policy because people are
Me too.
paying property taxes, but
Oh,
they're
yeah,
not
But they're
you
getting
don't- I
a
don't care if you're
permit.
here
They're
for
getting
3
a
days.
paper-
Permit, just not a sticker to put on.
That's right.
I don't know.
It's-
I have no problem with the idea of going 25 across the board and
I
then.
mean, we're reacting to something I thought was pretty easy, and I used the example, and that's why it actually requires more discussion before I'm actually living in this area. And that's why I just brought it up as that
Yeah.
one example.
Good job, Alan. Good job.
'Cause-
$25 ran across the board.
I'm living there, no matter how we play it at this point.
When you say with the 1 day, that usually it's like landlord cleanouts or whatnot, and they may be bringing more than the average person in the 6 months, is there a way that we could potentially charge them a set fee, but they only get so many trips too before they have to
Never be
purchase?
able to manage that.
Again, you got to be able to.
They
You got to
would
be able
never
to.
know.
You got to
It's
be able to
$25
control it.
bucks, and anything
Well, they-
weird
they'd
you
have to
bring,
get
you
a
pay the
stamp.
fee. It's easy.
We don't.
Right.
It's easy.
Yeah, you're working it out Marcel by load.
That's
Then we
it.
could always get around it by paying per pound, but we don't have scales.
Yeah.
So
Told
You're
It's
working it out by
25
Marcel
bucks.
based on your
Pay for
load.
all your big junk. We've already talked this stuff to death.
Yeah.
right.
Randy, how do you
so
feel about
the-
So, you
25
know,
bucks?
what we need
across
to
the
do
board?
is we're going to need to probably come back to you at the next meeting with a revised schedule. That will be a first reading, and we won't be able to do the second one until July.
Will that actually?
Because this is really well, if I know you're going to stick with whatever we come back with, I can do my budget.
Okay, how about this?
But we're not going to be able to issue anything until the middle of July now, so.
Well, why can't we just?
Usually August 1st, isn't it?
It doesn't sound like
Isn't
we're
that
changing a whole lot.
August
tonight.
1st, August
I mean,
1st?
basically, there was changes as
Where
far
our
as
meetings fall.
Advance.
Oh, yeah.
to me,
Meetings
we
every week,
actually
isn't
just
it?
make an amendment that we're changing all the stickers to $25, and the idea that we're going to go along with the bulky, you call it bulky
Bulky waste.
waste changes up, the changes in the fee schedule for bulky waste. I'd vote on that tonight because that's pretty
Okay.
straightforward, right? I mean,
With the elimination of the residential
Yes, we'll-
hauler and the non-residential
yeah,
hauler
we'll
coming
eliminate
off,
that.
so that stays as is.
So anything that we have, so we have the business right now is 30, so you want to change that to 25 as well? Because the business was paying more than the residential. Or do you
Based
want to leave it?
on, what's the logic behind it, I guess?
I don't know.
That
It's the
would be
way,
the, that would be
the
the,
way it's always been. I
right,
don't.
and that's,
Generate more waste.
but I don't think we ought to be
Waste.
going down at this point in time.
No,
especially
me
talking
either.
about- So I mean,
I would think 50, but stop me when
Well,
I'm getting crazy. Bringing more stuff, double it.
Where I'm living with this is staying with the $25, because one of the things that we're talking about is we eliminate commercial. The fact is, and you may not have to worry about the businesses because you're eliminating them from getting a pass to begin with.
Right.
That's why I would leave it as it is at the 25.
I'd just
They
like
live
to
here in town,
clarify
they're
this
just going to
before you
use a
vote on it.
residential pass to bring it anyway, so it
Right,
doesn't
right,
to me.
right now, a person with 2 cars would be paying $15 for 2 stickers, and we'd be increasing that to $50.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty substantial increase. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely comfortable with the effect on a lot of people with that. You know, especially lower income people on fixed incomes. That could be, that's an increase in. They're talking 35 extra bucks a year there.
I
Right.
think if it's low-income people, they don't have 2 vehicles.
Right.
Does it have to be, and going back to the people that don't have a main Lisbon license plate, they can bring a paper in with their permit? Is it actually required to be stuck on your car, or can you actually have a paper permit?
No, it's just for the temporaries. We issue the paper. That
Yeah.
doesn't have to be stuck on the vehicle.
No.
But
Has
how
to
do we
be
know
with
if they're
you, though.
using it for 2 different vehicles?
You have your
I think is
registration.
that what your
Yeah,
question
Yeah, it
is?
doesn't make a difference. They can bring it in any vehicle they own,
If they don't
right?
have
So-
a sticker affixed to the vehicle, the transfer station attendant should be asking for that permit. They pull the permit out, and it should match up to the plate that's on the car.
Okay. So we are
So
putting
there-
a
so
plate
there-
number
there is a
on it.
plate number on the
Yeah,
car.
definitely.
Okay, gotcha.
The plate number has to be on there, and even their address where they're
If it
where
says
they're taking the material
Florida
from.
plate, number, number.
Mark, I guess while we're having the discussion, just so this doesn't get passed on, and where do you feel comfortable with as far as for, the $25 is something we talked about for the first sticker regardless. The question would be is what you pay for the second sticker.
Right. I mean, if it was $5, I'd be more agreeable to that than jacking it up to $50 is a little bit much.
So it would go from 15 to...
Say $5 for an additional sticker. I'm just spitballing here.
Now, how does that work within the household?
Right.
So I get a duplex, one half pays $5, the other pays 25.
How do we do it now?
Question, how does that work?
$25, my renters, they pay a fee. I don't take their trash.
If
I own
I
property in
go
town.
and I
They each had to
register
go and
my
come here, show
my
their
car
paperwork, get
for
their own
25,
sticker.
and my husband
So-
wants to do it for his,
I'm not picking up my,
as
I'm
it
not,
is right now with the 5.
It's not a
How do you
household,
know that
man.
I've already paid the 25? Is there a way
And
to?
I would be okay
Yes,
with what
we
Mark's
already know.
suggesting at that
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
I'm still
Because I
down
just
with
wasn't sure if
$25.
somebody was going to
Sticker's a
come in
sticker's
and
a
say,
sticker.
oh,
I
I've
don't
already
care.
paid 25 for this vehicle, and then they're just getting a.
Well, then we'd have their name on file and also their registration. And say, well, we don't show your
Right.
2005
We
GMC
keep a
truck on here.
spreadsheet.
My girlfriend lives in the country, and I'm bringing her stuff here too.
I,
Live with my dad. I mean,
I'm,
25 bucks a
where
sticker.
I would live, and I would support his motion. 25 a sticker. No difference for the commercial because, to your point, they're going to be bringing it under a residential anyways. The fact that leave it as it is. That's the simplest to be able to address it. If it doesn't work, the motion fails and we revisit it anyways.
Do we know what other
The
towns
first
around us
reading, right?
charge? Well, what's the average, for other towns in the area?
It's all over the place. I did some charge 5, some charge 25.
Do all of them
Some
charge?
don't charge at all. I think it all depends on what their transfer station is doing.
Yeah, Sabatis is more the fact is your militant. They're going through every bag that you're actually dropping off at the facility, so they're going to get you on the disposal by load, and it's a much slower
And
process.
some do pay per bag, so they don't charge for stickers.
If this
Right.
bulky
So it all-
item's
it
in
just
your bag,
depends on
they'll
what
pull
their
it out and charge you
situation
for the
is.
bulky item that's in your
I'll
bag.
just throw this out there.
And I'm not saying it's
Sabbath
wrong, but
take
that's
commercial.
what
Right.
that's what's
Right.
costing you.
That's the
I'll
other
just
thing.
throw it out there. Sabatis doesn't take commercial haulers at all.
Right.
Period.
And then the 2 days a week, Saturday and Sunday period. Absolutely.
So their overhead and their budget's probably a lot less than ours.
Right.
$25 across the bird. You heard us. I'll second it or first it or however you wanted to throw it out
You
there.
had it first. I was feeling where you were living.
So
Okay,
roll
so-
call vote, right?
First, second,
I will second that.
okay.
Ray has something to say.
Yeah, come to the podium.
Right. Yeah.
Just because you're sitting next to something.
You had the
you gotta
thought.
state
Give
your
it to
name,
us.
sir.
Ray Schlotterbeck, Lisbon. If you own a business in Lisbon, but you don't live in Lisbon, and you come to get a dump sticker,
You get a permit. You get a permit. You don't actually get a sticker. You get a permit.
sounded half confusing. I got lost. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Do you understand what they changed? I'm not sure I do.
But this is the first reading, right?
Correct.
So why don't
So-
we actually put it through as is,
Yeah.
as we mentioned, 25.
The
Again,
markups.
there's two motions as far as for $25 a sticker, and there's actually the idea of making the increases on the bulky,
Bulky waste.
So what is
bulky
it
weight.
now? What's the bulky? I get the other part
The
of it.
couches, the,
The sofas.
So-
the
So you're gonna go with our
chairs,
recommendation, you're not
mattresses,
changing that.
queen
Okay,
and larger are 10,
and then we're
and the
gonna,
mattresses.
and we'll
twin
deal with the
full are
commercial
5.
we'll
haulers
deal
later.
with that.
All box springs, $5. You had all of that spelled
Leave
out.
these in.
That's right.
Yeah, so one more question. If we're not gonna deal with the commercial haulers at this time, I think really we should increase those fees. Not to throw any more muddy waters here, but $250 and $750
For all year long.
for all
permit.
year long,
So we
that's
went
just,
from, what was the average person
That's
was
just
10 to
not-
25?
not if you're charging 25 for a resident, that is way too low. And I think you really need to be looking at that tonight as well. If you're not gonna stop them from coming in.
So what are we looking at as far as, $50, $75, $100 change? I mean, I'm not
It'd be
sure.
more than that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
it costs about $250 for one day of them dumping there. So, I mean, if you do the math,
I just wanted to keep it equitable. So we actually have a rhythm of how we're actually changing them, that's all. You mean how, but,
I wouldn't change that 250 or 750 or, I wouldn't change the 250 to, 275. That'd be
Yeah.
ridiculous.
yeah, no, I'm just throwing numbers out there so people
I'm thinking
start
more
talking.
like $1,000, $1,500. It's just ridiculous that we have to get rid of their stuff that they're making money on.
We're gonna have to change, we're gonna have to undo this and then change this fee.
See? It seems simple.
It does.
So did you?
I mean, that's a far cry from what we're asking
What
you
would-
to do.
What would you say, like, the average household brings in versus a commercial yearly?
Average household on a weekly basis, from what I gather up there, depending on the size of the family. I mean, I see handicapped people coming in with 2 bags. I've seen, a pickup truck with 8, 10 bags or 4 big canisters,
And you don't know if that's just 2 weeks,
I don't
3
know
weeks.
if that's a
Right.
family of 4 or 6 or 8, but it looks like a young man that probably has a few kids. Generates a lot of trash, paper plates and whatever. I don't know. Don't really go through their trash. But, from my experience looking at people coming in and out, the older the couple is, the less trash they have. The younger it is, they have a pickup and it's usually full.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now, what about, like, the commercial haulers? How many times are they coming in a week?
Well, I know Nick came in today with 4 trucks loaded. We went through a whole trailer and a half one day.
With just one?
So,
Yeah, so if
Well,
we're,
that's just Nick's.
right.
hold on a
But
minute.
then, go ahead.
No, I don't want to stop you. There's 250 and 750. Where do you think that 250 number should really be, Randy?
Right.
Tell me. Don't giggle about it, man. Tell me. Really say it.
5,000 a year,
All right. The other one. What do you think the other one should be?
10,000.
There you go. There's your recommendation. Now you're paying attention. How much money that there's being made off from that other stuff. We're not saying necessarily to go to that extreme what he's talking about, but the number that we're processing for other people that are making profit. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about making a profit, but we're taking a lot. You're taking a lot of our money, and when I say our money, I say everybody in the neighborhood that's got to buy a pass and bring their own shit to the dump.
Not only that, but it's the taxpayers.
Absolutely, that's
I
what I'm
mean,
talking
we're
about.
Well, they're making money off from the
The taxpayers that
taxpayers.
are paying for their stickers are actually paying for the other people that don't.
Exactly.
Because they're paying for the commercial hauler to haul it in.
But
and get
this
rid of it.
discussion is much more broader than that. I mean, it's more, the sticker is for your ability to get to the gate, okay? The question would be is as a taxpayer, which most people are going to the dump, right, is the idea what you actually calibrate, what you're paying for taxes on your property, how much of that is actually running the transfer station. You know what I mean? So if, say he starts hauling trash, and he's hauling for 100 people that actually come in there on Saturday, right, and say, hey, look, I'm just going to grab your trash, I'm going to dump it off. If he stops hauling, those 100 people are still going to go, and they've already kind of paid their way in a sense. They're going to buy a sticker, but don't get me wrong. I mean, the discussion I've had, and I've talked to a lot of people, some
But the
come see
people
me,
that
and
are
some
getting
people,
hauled aren't buying stickers.
That's right.
Right.
they're not buying a sticker, but the sticker is, this, we've already kind of proven that. What's the overall budget of the transfer station a year?
Tipping is 246 last year.
No, the overall budget of the whole transfer station,
Oh, with
what?
all the labor and everything, do you have that number, Diane?
What, well over, what?
Your binders in the other room, sir.
Yeah, you want me to go
What's
get
that?
it? You want me to go get it?
Several hundred, are we saying somewhere between 500 and several hundred thousand quite easily?
Oh, yeah, you're.
Okay, so what do we collect,
Dollars anyway.
so what do we collect a year in stickers?
If we sell 3,500 of them,
About
Okay, so-
31,000.
So take 30,000 and compare it to the 700,000. The stickers are really,
they're really nothing.
it's nothing. So basically what you got to figure out is the average taxpayer, what they're paying to actually run that transfer station. Is their tax dollars actually being used to actually run the transfer station, okay? And that's the question people have presented to me, saying, look, the sticker's a sticker. That's actually just me making sure that I'm a person coming through. But, what is my taxes that I pay yearly based on a business or residence that pays for that several $100,000 to run the transfer station? What am I getting for that? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and there's a lot of discussions along with that, whether or not I haul it or you stop and haul it. I mean, that's the question I think it is. So I mean, I don't know. It's a very broad discussion. Whether or not, I mean, if she actually has a household and you calculate it all out, you pay you $7,000 in taxes, and out of that $7,000, you really, it figures out that you can haul 5 bags a week to actually pay for your part of it. That equates to what you pay for taxes. Does it make a difference whether you haul it there or someone pays to haul it there?
But
I mean,
don't.
That's the question.
But these haulers that are coming in, we don't know if it's actually coming from here in Lisbon. It's not fair that the Lisbon taxpayers are paying for somebody's trash that belongs in Sabatis
Bowdoin
or Bowdoin or wherever.
That is the question. I mean,
And that's a
part
risk
of
that you take when you go with a commercial hauler. I mean, you're
it's
paying
something
them.
that you could control. You could
do
I'm
away
not
with
going
them.
to open every bag. to make
Exactly.
sure.
Wait a minute.
No, but I'm just saying it's something you could
Don't
control.
we talked about this before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About doing away with it, and we had a number. We already talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah.
All right, so why are we?
But okay,
I mean,
so
we did per loads. This is simple math.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
say all those
Give you a
people.
number of loads.
You don't have to convince me.
No,
I already know where I'm at.
Say all those people actually are people from the hood,
Yeah.
and they're all going to haul the trash.
Yeah.
So you got, instead of having 3 big trucks coming in, now you actually have another 400 cows on a weekend showing up, and the same trash is getting dumped because it's still coming from the same community.
Yeah.
Now tipping fees don't drop $1.
Yeah.
So we didn't really solve anything there. I mean,
But
the question
those people
is
would have
it
bought- would have
actually
bought
coming?
stickers.
What's that?
I know the stickers aren't really that much, but
No,
some-
I mean, we just kind of went through that. Out of the
Maybe-
several
maybe-
$100,000,
Again-
even if you double the stickers.
Again, maybe
you're
you should.
still,
Maybe
know.
the people that each one of your commercial haulers pick up that need to be registered with your hauler, and your hauler has to pass in your registration about where your trash is coming from. And then we know where all our trash is coming from, that the people that you're talking about that are not buying tickets, that are living in our neighborhood, their trash is getting picked up by somebody from our neighborhood. And all them other people, then you can see the difference? Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely, and no different than the guy who pulls up in a pickup truck that has 20 bags in the back. How do we know that 2 of his aren't his and the other?
I know.
The other,
I don't
you
go there very.
That's the question,
I can, and any 10 minutes I'm there, when I'm there, I can pick out 4 to 6 people that I know that don't even come from our community.
Yeah.
I don't work there.
My thing is with the
Yeah.
commercial people, and you're telling her how much of your tax dollar goes to this. But okay, so how much of the burden are we taking from the people, those taxpayers that aren't really contributing okay? Because now this one guy who only pays a little bit of, whatever taxes he pays in town is making all this money and we're taking care of it. It seems like a win-win situation for that person,
I mean,
for those people. And if we just shut it down to its residents only, what are we hurting?
Right.
We're getting our residents to still dump. So what? So why can't they take some of the burden away from us? And then once you see that the department and the transfer station goes down, maybe there can be a tax relief, for them guys. Maybe all the prices and the rates will go down. Because if the operating costs go down, the fees will go down. It's pretty simple math. And I don't, every one of you looked at me and said, where can we save money? Where's our money going? I'm telling you, but yet there's a big, huge discussion. Everybody's up in arms about it.
If you're telling me that
Not everybody.
Yeah, if
Well, no, not everybody, but I'm trying to, you guys come to me and say, what can we do to, where's the money going? I'm telling you, but then it's a big deal now.
It's a discussion, Ernie. This is part of politics at the local
I
level.
understand.
It's not a cut and dry.
It is.
I mean, in the past, we said we're going to get rid of our public works and hire stuff out. It's easy to say that, but in practicality, people don't understand the whole process. And it's, like I say, it's one of those things where it's not that we disagree with your presentation. It's more the idea of two things. Okay, one, I'm a firm believer we don't change policy during budget season either. We actually present something throughout the year and it makes sense, we change it to the problem. But the idea of getting rid of a whole department or getting rid of something or closing down a dispatch or disbanding our police or a fire department during budget season and make that work. I mean, these are all ideas that come up in the past.
This is just trash.
It's crazy. But it's still a process that involves a lot of people in town, that's all.
I know it's protecting a few people, but whatever.
So what?
It'll get talked about until we're blue in the face and nothing's going to change.
So why don't we move on?
Can we just move on to change the resident hauler, non-resident hauler fees?
At this point in time, it just is probably just easy if we can go with that. If not, we'll just table it to the following and allow you to bring together a presentation that works, that's all, if there's a concern.
You mean
Up
for
to
the
the chair.
fees, the $250 and $750? You want to leave it at that?
No, I mean, it really all depends just where we want to go, I guess. So just we've been killing it to death as.
Mary Morgan Alexander, Lisbon. I would like to ask one question. The statement has been made, we do not have scales. Were we to decide to purchase scales, what would be the payoff on purchasing scales? How many years would it take before we got our money back from purchasing scales? Would it even be worth looking at?
And may I speak? There's a lot of discussion that we had the night that we were talking about it, and that was one of the presentations that came up. It's just there's a lot of different solutions and non-solutions. The biggest thing would be the idea of just playing it all out to see what would be best. I mean, I've had people actually say just totally do away with our whole public transfer station. No, we don't need any of it. We'll just go curbside. And that way we don't have to we can get rid of 5 personnel and not have any of the hassles, not worry about buying dump trailers. We'll save that whole budget line. I mean, there was people that came that presented that to me saying, why are you actually nipping it here? Just be done with it. Just close that all together. We don't need it.
Well, there was a comment somebody made.
That's more of a practical solution that people came up with. And to me, we got to weigh it out.
About the town of Bodenham, they decided that they were going to go to bags. And pretty soon, at the end of the driveway of everybody who lived in Bodenham, was a front was a front-end lifter.
Dumpster, yeah.
Dumpster. And every so often, about 6 months or so, they would dump those dumpsters. And they just simply pack the garbage into the dumpsters. There was stink, there'd be rats and everything. Doesn't matter. There was no rule on how often they had to dump them. And we have that potential, too.
Yeah, it's a broad discussion.
I've lived in cities where the city itself has the garbage trucks, and they go from door to door to door, and they load the garbage trucks. Then there's been other communities where...
Marion, I don't want to stop you, Marion. We're talking about something else. You're leading off the path a little bit.
Well, okay, I take 1 sack of garbage a week, and I'm on a limited budget. So from my standpoint, what keeps me from having to spend more and more money for that same sack of garbage, I and a lot of other people just like me are going to look at it that way.
You're talking about 52 bags a year. You're talking about $25. You're talking about 50 cents a bag of your trash being taken care of by the town of Lisbon and taxpayers. Okay?
Somewhere in that area. would
Right,
suppose.
that's what you're trying to tell us, and again, we're talking about commercial, non-commercial, we're talking about fees. I'm not sure what this is relevant to. If you have a point to make, get to it, so we can get moving on, all right?
If we lock out the commercials, where are they going to go?
They go
They
right to
have- they
Auburn.
go to Auburn.
They go 7 miles up the road, or 8 miles up the road. That's where they go.
I mean,
Because they go there sometimes when they're not here, when they're getting trash from somebody else's neighborhood, farther, that's closer to that end of the neighborhood.
to address what you were saying, what if we just make residential haulers and non-residential haulers a higher price like you had suggested, or they have the option to go to Auburn? You have two options.
That's correct.
I mean, really, technically, when it comes to a standpoint of haulers, it's not our burden.
That's the thing, it's the wear and tear and stuff on our vehicles to transport all that trash. I mean,
It's
we're trying to put into the budget $100,000 for a trailer.
right.
Now, if it doesn't get used, a certain percentage less, because we don't take
Oh,
that
that's that much
burden on.
longer.
Right.
So that's less wear and tear on my stuff, and then less that the taxpayers have to come up with in purchasing a new $100,000 trailer.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it shouldn't be on the taxpayers' backs, the burden on the taxpayers for somebody else to be hauling trash and making a profit.
And that's the only point I'm trying to get across. That's it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
back to the original dialogue. I'm not prepared to actually talk about the other items because it's pretty sweeping change associated with that. If the intent of this item is to actually deal with the fee structure, I would make the motion to be able to increase them times 2, which is pretty much what we did with the individual pass, to go to 500, 1,500 for the point of discussion if we're going to have the other discussion. If not, I would make the motion to table this entire discussion and leave it as it is, because we've accomplished nothing, and my point to the date has been, it sounds like a simple topic, but there is a more dialogue that needs to be happening with the amount of people that we will be impacting.
So there's no motion on the floor. just
Don
so
Fellows
Yeah,
out there.
Don has a question
Don's out there
or
on
a
the floor
statement.
waving his arm.
Okay.
Don Fellows, local resident in this side of town. Since this is a non-hearing hearing, I thought I had one comment. I like the understanding that I don't like paying everybody else's trash. So if you come up with $25, I think that there's no reason why I have to drive more than one vehicle to the dump. In fact, I don't. I don't buy the $5 sticker because I use the $25 one. And I don't see why anybody else can't do it. There are a couple of residents in town that have 6 stickers, then you need one, So I think that that's a reasonable stay across the board, $25. The other thing is, if you increased from $10 to $25, it's 2.5 times. Increase the resident hauler and the non-resident hauler the same rate as a ratio and live with it for a year. If it doesn't work, change it. But if you go into policy discussion, like Randy was saying, again, it's going to be all year long discussion. So my thought is, get it done, and then if you want to discuss it later and when everybody else, maybe they're in an uproar over the course of the year, maybe it'll get more discussion from the community.
I think that's where Alan was just landing the idea of doing.
There 2 out there just for simple math.
And that's what I was trying to mean earlier, is the idea of doing it as a fair, equitable type of thing, just so we have an easy discussion. But
Like you said, just the ratio to what they haul to what a customer, like anybody like you or I haul. It's just different than that little ratio, you know what I mean?
And you've convinced me on that all day, every day. I've got no issue with that. It's the fact that I still vehemently believe that the trash is going to end up at our facility whether they haul it or not, and that's what we're looking at. And one of the things that had the biggest traction, but I believe is a longer discussion, in my opinion, is if we close the entire facility to commercial entirely. The fact is, and get back to residential, that's a different discussion, but it impacts so many different things rather than a fee schedule to be presenting tonight. That's my only concern.
Then I say the fee schedule on the resident hauler and the non-resident hauler go up more than just a couple $100. I'd say like $1,000 for the resident hauler and non-resident $1,500.
Sold.
I mean,
just down, no longer care.
it's a first reading, so we'll have a.
So
it will go
before
through
we do
motion.
the first reading, So we're all in agreement then that we're not going to touch the commercial haulers. So we need to put that language back in.
Correct.
So this is tied to the ordinance too, because currently the ordinance has the fee schedule in there. So we're striking all the fee language in the ordinance, and it's only going to be in the fee schedule.
Referring it to here.
Right. So we need.
I clearly
right.
caught that in 127
Right.
and 128. You struck everything out, but I didn't see any reference to this that we just addressed. So I was...
Well, it says see the fee schedule. We
Okay.
did reference it.
Okay.
So my question is, if we go on to the solid waste ordinance, we'll put the commercial hauler language back in, and the rest of it is definitions and some house cleaning that we had to do because the ordinance is so
Agreed.
old.
The number
So
125
if you agree
is
to
nothing.
that part, if you agree to the ordinance doing that, then we can do the fee schedule tonight as well. And we'll do a first reading on everything. But if you're not going to do the ordinance, then we can't do the fee schedule.
Right.
But I just hope this isn't going to be the last of the discussion on this commercial hauling stuff. You know,
No,
this
I
is-
mean,
this is
it
just-
needs to be a broad discussion, and, you know, and one of the reasons I was saying what I'm saying, Randy, because at the last meeting, we actually said we weren't ready to present this.
Right.
We were actually ready to actually have a further discussion. So when I actually get my packet and all this is in there for voting tonight, I'm coming in saying, look, it's not even worth talking about because that's not how it works. I mean, the idea, we just don't have a seven-person discussion and change something that affects several thousand people without actually having a broader discussion, at least going over the long term. So, again, it's one of those things where it's not the idea of being rude and not actually agreeing with people's decisions, because there's a lot of different opinions on every aspect of it. It's more the idea of having an honest discussion and actually just getting a lot of input, so we're making a decision not just based on us, because we don't represent us. We represent 9,000 people out there that come ahead of us. So to me, to voice my opinion really doesn't mean much. And my opinion is only based on the idea that I go out and actually speak to people, and people want to speak to me. So I get, again, we're just representing. We're not.
Right.
Agreed.
We can make a lot of changes in this room. We would piss off a lot of people.
Right.
But you know, I mean, especially because it would affect everybody. Whether we close a library or, you know, we could do stuff that would be very easy. This table would save a lot of money. But the downfall is the amount of people that affects. And I don't know who the library affects.
Right.
But I guarantee
It's
there's
the
several thousand
repercussions.
people out there that know what the library affects. You know what I mean? So again, I'm not trying to diss anybody or any of the work you've done. It's more the idea of when we want to make a decision, we want to make sure that we're at least representing the people that.
First
that
thing
puts
out
together.
of our mouths the last meeting was a public hearing, and I don't have one. The fact is that we're not. I know it's at the first reading, but there's more discussion even before that even happens to get people in there, because
Our biggest thing is-
they're already hearing it and they're already hitting some of us up.
Our biggest thing is getting these changes into effect now.
Agreed.
So we can get these stickers and we can get her.
We're doing that right tonight.
Good deal.
Okay.
So
Move on.
fee schedule, $25 across the board is what I clearly heard.
Yes.
Effect is the all box springs, $5. Mattresses and twins, $5. $10 for queen and larger. Free sticker, $25 a stair. Subsequent vehicles that's still $25. Vehicles over 1 ton. What is that? Is that a commercial?
Well, you got your dually 1-tons that have a rack body on the back that haul in a lot more than just a truck with a short box pickup, you know. Hauls more weight.
Is that part of the sticker fee, or is that actually? I mean, that was one of the discussions I had even earlier. I had mentioned Diane. You know, who actually is a commercial hauler? You mean if someone actually has?
Oh, it's like I own a 1-ton.
Say a dozen apartments, and part of their rental fee is the idea of trash pickup. They're actually a commercial hauler when they pick up for those 10 apartments. Are they? But again, are they paying the $1,000 that we're asking now versus the idea of actually individual fees? I mean, that's one of those things that just it's the meat and potatoes of it.
That's
I mean,
really not the definition of a commercial hauler, though. A
So what
commercial
is?
hauler is somebody that's going around and picking garbage up from residents.
To what level, though? Is it 20 bags, 100 bags, 1,000 bags? I mean, what level are you actually? And that's on some of the
To any
discussion
property
We
that
have
you
three
do not
commercial haulers
own.
that do that.
any property you don't own.
So a clean out crew is the same
Exactly.
as the other. Guy that comes in and cleans out your garage.
He's going to pay the $1,000 as a commercial hauler.
Does he live there?
Not if he owns a 1 ton, he's paying 75.
But he'd be good for the year to do however many jobs he does.
Right.
So again, that's that was part of that whole thing where you get into it is, where do you define this? You know what I mean, who's commercial, who's not? You mean, where do you define it? You know what I mean, do we only have 3 of those in town? Do we have 100 of
If the dump guy
them?
comes in here and says, I want a commercial hauler license for the year, well, that's what he's gonna pay for the year, and then he's gonna pay per, sulfur he gets rid of, or the beds, or the whatever.
Yep.
But his fee's paid for the year, Just hope they use that one, Mr. Dumpster guy, uses that one truck.
For the sake of discussion, I would be inclined to actually leave the vehicle 1 ton 75 as written. For the resident hauler, 1,000 as Randy suggested, 1,500 for a non-resident, and that is everything else. The 1-day permit goes away, they're all 25.
For 25, the one-day permit's 25, right?
I'll second that.
Yes, 1-day permit is 25.
On the first page, just for clarification,
Yes, please.
would it be 25 and then commercials we leave in at 25?
Yes,
And the second sticker, what are we doing with that one?
25.
Everything's 25.
Everything's 25.
Okay, and then residents and non-residents are both 25 in those
Are
columns?
we going to keep the business at 30? Or is that going to be 20?
25.
25, everything's 25, okay.
I was feeling the love Councilor Brownell was putting down.
25.
That's the only clarification we needed then, right?
And then the temporary permits are 25 each?
Right.
Yep. Okay.
And that at least gives us a fee schedule.
Fee schedule, you can
for
live with,
first
Randy?
reading.
Who made the motion?
I did.
I have one more question. What about the local contractors that say 30?
25. Thank you.
Again, I think some of those definitions need to be more broadly looked at.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
I'm
if
sure this discussion is not over.
If he's a local contractor picking up trash at other
Yeah, we
places, what difference is that than the commercial hauler, you mean?
Right.
Is there a
I don't know how you define that, you mean, but,
Somebody's got to be paying attention, know their sticker jobs.
yeah.
Yep.
And I know when we get further into the ordinance, the fact is there was a lot of the definitions flushed out,
Yes.
but clearly that one that Fern just listed for an example is not covered. Or if it is, it's still ambiguous, so it needs to be clarified. And frankly,
So-
with all
Do you
the
want more clarification on out of town?
If if you have that category listed in here, it should state in the ordinance what that means. Absolutely.
Could you please?
Chris seconded it. Thanks. Okay. Are we all set?
It's a
one
real
impact?
call.
Huh?
15 minutes, what the hell?
Oh, yeah, it did.
You beat that to death.
Want to go longer? We can. I'll let you go. You're not working tonight? We can be at 10, right?
2-hour meetings,
Pardon,
man.
Mrs.
2-hour
Chair.
meetings.
Yeah. Okay, so roll call vote.
All right, so just so we're clear, we have a motion by Chris and seconded by Cassie for the original, and then this is an amendment,
No,
right?
no.
Because
There was, Alan made the motion, Chris seconded. That's all
The
that
fee
there was.
schedule started out as Chris making the motion
Okay.
as 25 across
Yeah.
the board.
And we never actually opened it. We started the discussion before we.
Yeah, before it got crazy.
okay, so we're going to go with our first one who made the motion and the second, and then we've ironed it out.
Yes.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Are we all legit, Twyla? We all
long
set
as
if we
it's-
vote on this?
Well, you keep us straight.
We need to know. Or is there something
It
we
would
ought to
be
do to
better to
correct it?
probably do this as an amendment,
Okay.
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 and then, because you've presented it to the public one way, and now
Now
tonight
we're
you're
changing
changing
it.
it. So it makes sense to make this as an amendment, so that your first reading and your second reading next time
I
will
think that's what Chris
match.
said.
Yeah.
That sound right?
I think
Correct,
that-
it does, Twyla.
Okay, so
How
your
did you know that?
amendment
You're so good.
and your second, and let's do your roll call for these changes.
Okay.
Nice.
And Counselor La Rochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Colby.
Yes.
5-0 on the amendment. Now the main motion
Andy?
as amended. Do another roll call. Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
and Counselor La Rochelle.
Yes.
Next item.
Can you believe we got through that?
Oh,
Okay,
We skipped a bunch of them now that we actually do that, so.
so ordinance 2019-125, Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 14, Section 2-450 and 451 deals with the solid waste transfer and recycling ordinance amendments.
That's one page on our packet, correct?
This looks like the administration in Chapter 2,
Right, so it's
and it's your department. Yes, it's one small page.
one page.
Correct.
Basically, only thing that I see is
Yep.
strikeouts for solid waste referring to public works.
Yes.
Yes.
I make the motion, I see no issue with the content.
I second it.
Is this a roll call?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Counselor La Rochelle.
Yes.
Counselor Ward.
Yes.
Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
Counselor Burnell.
Yes.
And Counselor Colby.
Yes.
5-0. Order passed.
Whew.
Next is Ordinance 2019-126, the amendments to Chapter 38 for the Solid Waste Transfer and Recycling Ordinance. Another roll call vote. Chapter
we're-
28.
On the definitions, we'll do something different with the contractor and the non-local contractor. Have a better definition for you. And then,
My question is on this one, you made a comment to be able to adjust the fee schedule, that some of this we had to address.
yes.
How does this survive intact with what we've done on the other? Because there's content in here that I will not support.
So we're going to, under anything where we struck out the commercial users, we'll add back in,
Okay?
all right? And the fee schedule, we struck all of that out. And what the current definitions are, we struck that because it really didn't do a whole lot for us.
Okay.
We've got them at the beginning.
So maybe we would just deal with the commercial change later and just pass it, and knowing that you're going to come back with your changes.
But we've got to keep the commercial in here, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your definitions you could do later. You could start another first reading and second reading for your definitions. I just see a couple of sections that need to add back in.
Yeah.
To actually move the fee schedule part of the budget forward, are these other items necessary to move forward on? Or are these actually still linked, right?
They need to match up.
Right.
So if we have fees existing,
They need to match up with
then
the
we
ordinance.
need to take them out, because now we said, see the fee schedule. We just
Right. So we've got to take those out. So that's why we got to deal with this as well.
Underneath Division 1 generally, you have commercial hauler means.
We just make an
Leaving that.
amendment that the
Yep.
changes actually reflect
Yep.
the
We're
previous
just
vote.
this one here, and then the
Right.
non-local contractor.
Violet?
We were just
Wyla,
gonna
can we
update
just
them.
make a motion that the amendments reflect the previous vote changes?
Yeah, and then your
move forward
first
that way.
Allows
reading
you
and your
to clean it
second
up
reading
for the
will
second
match.
time around?
Yep, I'd
We'll
make
have
that
it
motion.
changed.
There's the motion.
There you go.
Second?
You, right there. I
Okay.
heard you.
KK, and it was Burnlow Show, right? Okay. You ready for a vote?
Yes.
Okay, Counselor Colby,
Yes.
and Counselor Burnell,
Yes.
and Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
and Counselor Ward,
Yes.
and Counselor La Rochelle.
Yes.
And these will match your motions in your fee schedule. And the order passed, 5-0.
Next item.
Ordinance 2019-127 to amend Chapter 98, the Solid Waste Transfer and Recycling section under Rules, Regulations, and Policies at the end of your code book.
Are these actually same thing, overlapping?
Mm-hmm.
So can we make the
Just to
same
build
type of
up a
motion?
verification. I mean, this one looks like it would survive with the strikeouts, but as long as there's nothing that we had in the previous vote.
Right. Exactly.
Because I see the note now.
Amend
see
to approve
Appendix
as written unless there's something that actually doesn't reflect our previous vote on the first
Exactly. Yep.
article.
Yep.
I make that motion.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Mark's turn.
Yeah. All right, I'll second that.
Okay. Are you ready for a vote?
Yes.
Counselor La Rochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Burnell,
Yes.
Counselor Colby.
Yes.
Order passed 5-0. Ordinance 2019-128 to amend Chapter 70, Article 1, Section 70-1 definitions, and Article 4, Division 13, district uses, Section 70, 531 land
Thank you,
uses,
Randy.
and Section 70, 531 the table of land uses regarding the daycares.
I make the
This is
motion,
the second reading,
and I make the motion.
Second.
and are you ready for a vote?
Yes.
It's a definition 6 versus 12, right? Or
Yes.
is it 8?
Basically, make the town reflect the same as the states,
Right.
from what I've been told.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Lund,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
and Counselor LaRochelle.
Yes.
So 5-0, that ordinance passed.
Next item.
Other business, council committee reports.
Counselor Albert is not here for the school planning board.
Their meeting's not till the end of June. They just postponed it.
LDC.
Meeting tomorrow night, here, 6 o'clock, I do believe. Just kind of going over some items of pending projects and the idea of maybe just discussion of where we play in the Moxie and some other items. So, all is welcome.
Conservation.
They're later in the month as well.
Okay. Recreation. They had their meeting last night and the Moxie meeting last night, and lots of planning is going on. That's what I have so far.
County Caucus is coming up June 16, I think it is, or 19, one or the other. So that's where we have to actually make nominations from District 4, and everybody else will actually be doing the same, and we'll get an idea of who's actually going to be attending for September timeframe. That'll spark an election, us, Sabattis and Wales, to nominate for our district.
Library.
Summer reading program starts soon, so get your kids in there and signed up.
Town manager's report.
We closed on 1 Canal Street today. So we own 1 Canal Street, and I've been working on putting the final touches on the budget and working on the financials.
MS4 annual training.
In your packet, you have a report. Steve will probably come up and just summarize it really, really quick. At the
That was
end
two
of that
reallys.
report is a survey, and that's something that we'd like to have the counselors fill out and just get back to me if you would, so we can turn it in to show to the state so that they see that the council has had their training.
Is that something that will be emailed to us, an email form, so we can
I
just
can.
fill it? That'd be
Yep,
awesome.
I can email that to you.
The
Yep.
form, that way they would be there, we can
Yep.
fill it out and just return it.
Yep. I don't know that I can send it in as a fillable, though. Is that what you want, a fillable
Yeah, I thought
form?
that would, if we had the
Do you know?
technology, it'd be great.
Can
but
we change it to a fillable?
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Okay.
Either way, it's all good. Just thought it sounded
If we
easy
can't, we'll
with this
send it to you
electronic
back.
stuff that we have.
New electronic stuff.
Program you buy. Not sure what that-
I'm Steve Abioli, Sewer Superintendent. I'll do a brief overview of this Stormwater 101 training. All of you have had it in the past. Typically, it's every year you'll have new counselors. Try to have the training again so they can start seeing what's going on, what's been happening. All of you have been here for several years, so you've been through it several times already. There isn't much that's been changed except for permit-wise. We should have had a new permit July 1st of last year. Still hasn't come out yet. State hasn't released it. Now they're saying we may not see it until 2020. So we're still operating on the previous permit. We're finishing up, wrapping up year 6, going into year 7. Know all the compliance directives and everything that we got to comply with in the permit's the same. Nothing has changed, and everything is business as usual the way it's been the last several years. I don't know if you had a chance to read through that. If you have any questions, I'll attempt to answer them.
Nothing's changed. I'm good.
No, there's
good.
not much has changed at all.
Anybody else?
Why are we still in the MS4 program?
We're trying to get out of it. It's an
I know
EPA
we have been for 5 years. I get it.
Yeah. Not that no one doesn't want to have clean water runoff.
course not.
But it's one of those things where it's nice to be able to.
When they're picking on us, and there's several other, never mind. We're not going to go on. Thank you, Steve.
No, I understand. Thank
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Feel right.
Blue duckies.
Yeah.
Next item.
Under appointments, Order 2019-129, the Planning Board regular member resignation from Dan Lehman, and a new appointment to 2020 to fill it.
You serious, Bill? That's good enough for me. I make the motion.
I make the second.
So we'll accept Dan Lehman's resignation on the Planning Board and appoint William, is your last name said cool? Okay. As
'Cause
a
he's
regular
cool.
member to 2020, automatically accepting Bill's resignation as an alternate. That position expired 6/30.
Yes,
Yes.
what she said.
All in favor?
5-0. Passed.
You're in the van, man. We're
Yeah,
selling
yeah.
roses.
Have some Kool-Aid and hold on.
Right, right.
Yeah.
the imagination you can take.
Yeah.
If you get the right chair up front here.
And stop by and we'll swear you into your new position.
Stop on by.
Order 2019-130, there's a planning board alternate member resignation that we just automatically accepted, and there's a new appointment to 6/30/2019, and we have an application on file from Chris Houston. So,
I think he'll do a swell job.
okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Order passed 5-0. We'll let him know.
They stole another one from the appeals board.
We accept his we accept his resignation there. Yes.
Stepping
Next
stone.
item.
Counselor Communications.
We've communicated enough.
The only thing I would ask on the fact is we beat the topic of the solid waste, the fact that if there's a time that's actually convenient for this discussion to be revisited for solid waste, I would,
Should do in a workshop probably.
Yeah.
yes, by all means.
I would love to think that, if possible, we get through this budget season and actually get over some of the huge hurdles that we're actually dealing with at the town right now. And once we actually get
Right.
through those, then we can actually visit something, because I know that the town employees are pretty strung out at the moment with lack of personnel. So to actually go through this, I think it's a valid discussion. I think there's a lot need to be said, but I just think we have bigger, hotter fires burning right now that we
Bigger
need to get.
fish to fry.
Can
Yeah, we have
you
some-
put us for a September, October
Mm-hmm.
time frame on that?
Yep.
And the reason I say that, obviously, it's prior to whatever election, whoever's actually going to be vacating the seat, and you've got, at least got people sitting here, they're not having to bring someone up to speed with why we're actually doing
Right.
the change.
And it could be a huge discussion. Randy, is there enough room on top of the hill to put a salt shed if all that was gone?
Oh, gosh. Okay, next item.
Moving right along.
Item.
A lot of big discussion out there, isn't there?
We don't have all night.
Audience participation for new items.
You don't want to talk about that one, do you?
Oh,
All right, this is, it's the culverts that are crossing Andrea Street, and which comes out of Bartholomew and the pond further upstream. We've recently gotten rid of the beaver issue. I've put in, as you know, 2 temporary culverts on Bartholomew, and my thing is I've sent and gotten a design back from Precast, and to do a box culvert. I've been in touch with, talking to Mandy from Oliver Associates. She gave me some suggestions on what we should do. And to do a 4-sided box culvert, a 2x6, so it'd be 2 foot thick, 2 foot high, 6 feet wide, with a 1 foot lip, so the material wouldn't spill over. Each section, for each road, would be about $25,000 each. So you're looking at $50,000 box culverts to do Bartholomew and Andrea Street. The severity of it right now is to get Andrea Street done because it's due to get paved, and these culverts need to get done sooner than later, whether it be this year or next. But if we do it next year, I'm ripping up brand new hot top. I'm asking council for the permission to at least do the culvert on Andrea Street before that gets paved, which would have to be done fairly soon. But I just don't want to take and rip a brand new paved road up a year down the road, or even this fall or whenever. Because those culverts, when they were doing the sewer project, they were already corroded to the point where they were leaking and coming apart. They put a clay, what did they do, put a clay seal on them, and just to get them to stop leaking so they can get the pipe underneath. So they're already deteriorating to the point where they need to get replaced. And if you replace one box culvert at one end, you got to keep the flow the same on the next street. So we got to do the downstream side first before we do Bartholomew. Just makes sense that we do the 20, get the money needed to. I mean, there's going to be gravel costs associated with that, and probably a excavator rental, but we can put it in ourselves. Mandy was saying that, you know, a project that magnitude would probably be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a contractor do it.
Without a doubt.
We can do it ourselves.
Just engineering of it would be a quarter of that.
Huge.
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
do we have any discretion in our purchasing for emergency status?
was going to be
Yeah.
my question.
Yeah, and
So
there's only
the
one,
we're still dealing with the emergency. The fact is, we didn't react to be
Right.
able to do it. So I would actually say that if we're protected and associated with that, that I would do both culverts now.
Where would you be pulling, may I?
Funding, right?
Yeah, is that what you're talking about? Because we
Yeah.
definitely don't have it, we don't have it actually in any account, so this would actually be coming on undesignated funds.
well, I think we're going to look at what he's got left in the balance of his budget too. This will be done in June, or will it be done next?
Oh, we gotta do it before the road gets paved, so.
So you mean,
Now.
We're in June.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're in June, and what I gotta do is, that road will have to get put off a little bit, as far as
Okay.
getting paved and ground and paved. They can grind it, no problem, that's not an issue, they can reclaim it. But for me, I gotta get the okay, and I gotta put the order in, and then I gotta make sure it passes Mandy's, specs, which they've spec'd it for a road anyway, so I'm sure it will. But then I'll just have to get the order put in with precast, and they're probably talking 3 to 4 weeks out, so we're already into July before we even get going on it.
Does this precast have a top end cleanout? The reason I ask that is Lewison's got the same issue in a couple of different locations, and they've got the garage actually fabricating a grate to actually be able to.
like a manhole cover on top, you mean?
Yeah.
Do the pavement? Because, I mean, this is pavement to pavement end, basically. what
Paving,
you're talking
so it's
about.
underground completely, so it doesn't have a top end, is what I'm hearing.
That's correct, it's like a bridge.
Forget what I had to say.
Okay, I was just curious. I thought it was a neat idea.
With
Was
tube
it-
through the middle
was
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a big box, it's like, just like a shoe box, basically, your road's put over that.
Okay,
But
forget what
two
it is.
sides,
Yeah.
top
The
and bottom.
application they're looking at is actually on the roadside, and they're putting in a grate on the top because they've got to get.
What do you mean when the beavers come and put another dam on that end? You think you can open a hatch and get down there and get some of them sticks out?
That's
That's
Not happening.
That was my question. I mean, does this mitigate most of the concerns we've actually had there? I mean, or is this actually just a piece of that puzzle? I mean, as far as the flooding and the,
No, that'll get rid of, because we had 3 24-inch culverts in there before, but only the capacity of 1.5 was working. Now that I've got 2 24-inch, but then you're gonna actually have the equivalent of flow, because it's 6 feet wide, 2 feet high, of 3 24-inch culverts in there, but you get the flow because you don't have circles, you have a square.
yeah.
Correct,
So
and
the-
it's more solid, it's all.
Flow is a lot better. The
Everything.
only reason why I only went 2 feet high, because I don't have that much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know there was a question about the idea of just, the idea, all
Yeah.
the elevations there are tight, basically.
Elevations were tight, and then, because on Andrews Street, there's not much room between that box culvert and the pipes. So we gotta put a layer of insulation in between the two before we
Going
put
up, causing
so there's
problems.
no freezing going on below.
I mean, I'm not sure
Or
if
pool pumps.
what you mentioned as far as for leftover in his budget, they can't be, I mean, I guess if you're gonna tap the total budget out, I mean, I would actually make the motion if needed, if that's what you're looking for, to actually use any not excessive, but leftover funding that's available and actually pull the rest out of a general fund as an emergency
We can also
problem, you know?
tap into the DOT match. We've got 155,000 in that account, waiting to be spent on the,
Isn't it clean
Make
leaving that
25.
there, though, or how would you actually because that
we just
eventually,
redesignate it. I mean, that's just money that we raised in one year budget, and we've been carrying it.
but is that still money that's in the undesignated, that's sitting there waiting for us to pull it out?
Right,
Or
it
you
has
actually-
its
No,
intended
it's not.
purpose.
It's already been
It has
pulled
a
out.
purpose. Right.
Yeah,
It's already been pulled out of.
so it has been
undesignated.
pulled out.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure if that meets the emergency. Can you actually take money from
You can
that?
redesignate anything you want. You designated that yourselves. What it was is we raised it through taxation. We didn't spend it because the work hadn't got done, so we carried it
It's been
forward, so
carried.
we wouldn't have to raise it again.
Got us halfway to the MDOT
Exactly.
portion
So all you
right
need
now.
to do is just redesignate that if you
And I
want.
guess
That's
I'll play
yours.
an Alwood Wonder right now. Do we have a definite amount what this is going to cost? And that's what Alan would say, right?
I just have to do the gravel portion,
Yeah.
the excavator rental,
Yeah.
and maybe a roller compactor, and that's about it.
So a total figure between the two, you're looking at roughly range of
50 to
I'd
70.
say it was 50,000 and some change for the culverts,
Yep.
for the 2 of them, and it can't be more than probably 5,000 maybe in gravel, and then you're talking a couple months rental at $4,500 a month, so you'd be in the vicinity of under 70,000.
now.
75 if you use the safe number.
You actually mentioned the Mandy. I mean, there has to be not the full scale of engineering, but there's some engineering in that. I mean, that could be I mean, is that figured into that, or was that just off?
Well,
Yeah, okay.
Mandy worked with us for a little bit, but she said, how much do you want to pay me to get involved?
Well, that's what I was wondering.
You know,
How much are we required to get involved, I guess? I mean, I know we have the capability of doing it ourselves, but being
I
being
don't
there
think
with
there would be a whole lot that she would have to do as far as engineering, because we're just doing R&R.
replacement, basically.
We're just doing
We're not
replacement.
building new.
No,
Upgrading.
we're upgrading. Yeah.
Upgrading, it's a better word, I guess, to use it, right?
So what we can do is, will you do any of it before year end, do you think?
I can do all of it.
I was hearing yes.
It just depends how much.
So
Talking
what
about
we
the end
should
of
do is-
July.
No, the only thing is,
Because we can out of what's left over in his budget, and then
Yeah.
the rest come from the DOT match. That's what I would do.
the good thing about this is that the paving's going to get done early because they're actually starting on my 2020 paving probably in the next couple of weeks, but they won't bill us till July. They're just getting on it because my plan worked. I got ahead of the game, and they're able to schedule me now,
And the equipment's here.
and the equipment's here. So
Ready, set, go.
All right, so
Trying.
what type of, I mean, Alan, you run with it. What do you want to make for a motion?
The question I would ask before is how much of a public conflict of interest if I got a relative that lives on that road.
Okay, then just
There's
vote.
not.
No, I'm just saying, there's no financial gain for you, so I don't think there's any
No.
conflict of interest.
you want to put
myself.
it in? Is that what you're
It's
saying?
just,
No.
I don't.
he won't be lacking hair
No issues.
Yeah.
because he's
Yeah.
stressed.
Because she didn't like Norman's, you now have lakeside property, your taxes are going to be adjusted accordingly. She didn't appreciate my humor.
At all.
I mean, I'd make-
That said, I hear we're looking at $60,000 to $70,000.
Yep.
The fact is,
Why don't we just say
What I w-
75 to be safe?
75, and we'll give you the discretion to be able to tell us where it's coming from
Okay.
to give us an update at the council
Rise
and
up
get
to
it done.
75 to do the culvert work, okay.
That
How's that
allows,
sound, Randy?
that allows him to be able to do what he needs
How's
to
that
do
sound,
as
Randy?
soon as it needs to
Sounds
be
great.
done.
Okay.
I think that'll get it
Wanna
fixed.
vote on that?
So.
So that's a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
When it passed, 5-0.
Thank you.
It'd be nice to see that problem go away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Oh,
we've all
boy.
seen
Next
it,
item?
Heard it.
Executive session, order 2019-131, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA Section 4056C, acquisition or disposition of real property or economic development.
We coming back?
Yes.
You can stay tuned if you want.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a
Don
motion.
groaned. I just want that on
Do I have a
record.
second? Okay, all in favor?
5-0, order.
Thank you all for coming out.
Yeah, we're sitting here. I got to get up, walk around for a minute. I've been in this.
Way to go, Bill. Thank you all.
Everything. Should be
Have a good night.
You're staying here for the first one.
You thought you were leaving. You were mistaken.
You're staying here, Randy.
Don't even look like a sneaker. I have to go walk.
Camera off yet?
Nope.
So I get filed a different look instead of my resting bitch.